So I'm back for another video, and I'm going to start by saying I'm sorry if the audio is a bit weird in this one. I'm literally plugging my microphone straight into the camera XLR, and I've got my Sub-Zero microphone booster because the dynamic microphone is not very powerful. But then I've since realized that this camera, being designed for like news and stuff, it's actually designed to take a dynamic microphone, so this microphone's actually now too hot for it, so it might be a little bit weird sounding. I've got the input trim on like plus 12 dB, and I've got the input volume at a pretty low level, so it's either going to be terrible or it's going to sound really good. I don't know which it'll be, but let's not talk about that. We got this today. This is a Sony MDS-E11, a professional mini-disc deck. How cool is this? This is super cool. So I've already taken the top off, and that's just because I wanted to do a preliminary check, make sure nothing's weird in here and nothing looks weird. There's no bad looking capacitors. I see no reason why I can't plug this in. And you should always do that when you get used electronics, especially mains powered electronics, because there's no point risking it, is there really? If there was like some shipping damage in here and a mains cable had come undone and it was touching the metal chassis, that could be dangerous, especially because Sony love doing this, by the way. They do this on so many of their devices. It's got an unearthed plug on it. Like, this is just a 2-core cable. That's a problem because this is a metal chassis, and I don't know how, but Sony have somehow got it to be double insulated. But the mains cable comes here onto this PCB, which is then, it's got plastic pegs, so it's not, that board is not actually electrically connected to the metal chassis. But what if the plastic pegs were to fail? That board with mains electricity would then touch the metal chassis, which may not be grounded. Yeah. Thanks, Sony. So here we are. I've got a bit of a close-up angle now, so hopefully you can see what I can see. So here's that mains PCB that I was talking about. The mains cable comes here on this orange connector. You probably can't see that. This orange connector is where the mains comes in. This white connector here is actually what goes to the front power switch, which is oh so satisfying to touch, by the way. That's such a tactile switch. And then this cable is taking that electricity out into the transformer, strangely with 4 wires, so I assume... that's an interesting... Why is there 4 wires going there? Unless maybe this transformer has 2 primaries. It might do. I'm not an expert on electronics and transformers and stuff, so to me, this is all gobbledygook. There's this entire PCB here, which is... a lot of it is just jumpers. And this big old transformer here. And this is actually where the electricity comes in on this tiny connector here. If I zoom in, you can probably see it. This tiny little connector, that's all the electricity for the entire system. I've also got audio cables over here. This multicolored ribbon is actually going to an RS-232 port, although there doesn't seem to be any transceiver chip on that RS-232 board, so why they decided to make it a separate board and have a separate cable going all the way over to here, who knows? I'm pretty sure the entire logic for this unit is going to be on the front panel. So that maybe they're doing that for a reason, but you've got this entire PCB which is literally just all jumpers except for some capacitors. I think there's a audio amplifier chip here for the headphone jack. The audio amplifier chip is beefcake. I would assume it can power some nice studio headphones, given how big it is. We've also got loads of capacitors. That's really all it is. Capacitors, jumpers, and some small logic chips. It's weird. So this is the actual mini disc unit itself. I'm not going to touch it just because I don't want to damage it. I haven't actually plugged it in yet to test it. We're going to do that on camera together. What I can say is that there's a mini disc in there, a JVC mini disc, and the mini disc looks very dirty, which I am concerned that may have damaged this unit. The eBay seller said it had a blank mini disc in it. I didn't think he would actually ship it with blank mini disc. That might have damaged it when they tested it, but we'll see. It's possible that the seller put that disc in to test it and then couldn't get the disc out because these mini disc units are prone for a belt to fail, which affects the eject mechanism. Although, saying that, I've only seen belts for the E12 and the E10. I've never seen a belt for an E11, so maybe it's beltless. But I doubt that. I doubt that. I assume there's going to be a belt in there somewhere that needs replacing. So I've put the case back together, and that's because we are going to actually be plugging it in for the first time. Where's the plug? There we are. I haven't actually plugged this in yet, so we're going to do that on camera together. Although the permanently attached power lead is very short. Thanks, Sony. So let's have a look at the I/O on this. So we've got RCA unbalanced in and out, and a switch to decide if the analog input is coming from here or the balanced inputs on the other side. We've got a coaxial digital in and out, which is this digital audio in and out. Pretty cool. We've got Control S, which I think is Sony's proprietary, like, you could buy a wired remote that would plug in here. I can't find said wired remote. It'd be kind of cool to have it, but I can't find it. But it's okay because Sony have given us these I/Os here. We have parallel, the relay controls, which is if you have multiple players, you can use the relay function to basically, when this player's finished playing an entire disc, it can play a second disc, which is, I guess a radio station might use that if they want to waste several hours playing music. Yeah, they could do that. They could probably record an entire radio show on two of these machines and relay it out so that it just kind of smoothly plays along. Or maybe you're a really lazy DJ and you need to fill a 2-hour DJ set. Just plug a relay cable between here and another deck and it will do it. It's also got relay record, which is probably more useful. So when this machine runs out of storage, it can switch recording to a second mini disc, and the manual says it will actually do that with a bit of an overlap so that the other mini disc has time to start recording and a little bit extra so that it should record 100% of what you want. And that could be useful because this kind of predates like computer recording. You could do it probably at the time, but it would have been far more expensive to get the correct discs in that to do that, whereas these used mini discs, which were quite cheap in comparison. So we've also got a serial port. So the serial and parallel ports, these are really useful, at least for me. So the parallel is quite simple. It's just you got inputs and you got outputs and a ground pin. And you can customize that in the settings. So you could say, I want this pin to only ever play. I want this pin to be a toggle, play, pause. I want this pin to do the next track. I want this pin to have an output when disc's playing. I want this pin to have an output when there's no disc inserted. And you can obviously make your own little control system out of that. And you don't even need a microcontroller or anything. You can just use literal most basic logic in the universe to do that. So that's kind of cool. But this RS-232 port is probably more interesting to me because I love RS-232 and I think I could make some really cool software to control this, maybe even use an Arduino or something with a MAX232 or something. So watch this space. If this player is fully functional, I will definitely be doing some videos on programming stuff with the RS-232 port. So then on the other end of the unit, we've got XLR inputs, XLR outputs, and a switch for the output level, which is either plus 4 dBu or minus 10 dBu. It's currently set to minus 10. So I don't really know the difference actually. And here's our permanently attached power lead, which is unearthed. Can you tell I'm a bit bitter about that? I think this should have had an IEC port, and I think if they had played that cards right, they could have done that. They could have put this, they could have moved some of the, like the output level and the analog input switch on the other side. They could be in the same space, and that would obviously save a bit of space. They could have probably stacked some of these relay connections and the control S connector. They could definitely have stacked the digital coax connectors, and they could have got space for an IEC connector. But Sony decided that permanently attached power cable was, well, better. I disagree with that. So I think it's probably about time that we actually, well, plugged it in. So this is going to be kind of difficult to do, but yeah, we want the power switch out. I've just realised there's a standby light, so I wonder if this physical power switch maybe is only turning on one side of the transformer. Interesting. Or maybe it's got soft power features that you can only use via the remote or something. Right, so we're going to plug it in, and it's probably quite quiet for you right now because I'm not near the camera. Well, I'm not near the microphone rather. Sorry. No bang. I repeat, there was no bang. So, if you can actually hear me, I'm going to press the power switch. Blank disc. So, I'm going to actually try and eject it now. It ejects. Oh, I'm so glad that's blank. It was supposed to be Shakira. Wow, I dodged a bullet there. But it does mean I've gained a 74-minute mini disc. But let's put a disc in that's not blank. So I've got NCS, no copyright sounds here. I will, if this works, be plugging it into the camera. I've obviously got an XLR cable here, so I can plug it in. But let's put this disc in. Take it. There we go. Didn't push it in all the way. Talk reading. I'll zoom in on the screen for you. It's a bit hard to read, but hey, it's read it. 23T, 80, oh, well, 80 minutes. I thought it said 8. How has it got 80 minutes on there? Oh, it's actually an 80-minute disc. That will be why then. I didn't think I had any 80-minute discs. But there you go, it's read it. Let's hit play. Seems to be working. Do I dare plug my headphones in to it? I might, you know. It's working. The volume control for the headphones is very crunchy. Right, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get an audio cable in the back here and have it plugged into the camera so that we can both hear it, and I'm going to just experiment with it. So I'm redoing that take because I realised that I wasn't talking into the microphone. So I've now got my microphone handheld. So I'm really sorry if you hear any handling noise, but it probably sounds a bit more radio-like because I can now speak right on the end of the microphone, which probably sounds terrible, so I'm not going to do that. But we've got our MDS-E11 here. I've got it all hooked up to the camera so you can hear exactly what's playing. Now, I will say that the audio quality this way is probably not going to be best, simply because the audio quality is going from an unbalanced source to a balanced source, and the camera is almost 100% not designed to take in such a source through its XLR jacks, but let's see what happens. There is one problem that you've just seen. Doesn't always go in. Probably just needs some lubrication. So as you can see, we've got the disc name. It's 80 minutes, 23 tracks on there. Nice. So if we hit play, you can see we actually get the track name on there, which is quite handy. So this is the first for me. I have absolutely no idea how to use this. So let's go to the next track. Okay, that's not a next track button. It's a twiddle dial. This is a good song, this one. This is so much better than Shakira, which is what was on the disc that came with it, of course.
Oh no, that is what they all say when they see me.
I mean, let's face it, that's working perfectly. So the reason I'm sitting here twiddling through the dial is because some mini-disc players do not like playing past a certain point. I'm wondering if this may be one of them. So we're going to go all the way to track 23. I'll probably cut a lot of it out though. Oh, I like this song. Let's skip through it. That's a really weird feature. So I wonder if it's... Can we pause it and then... Oh yeah, look, that's much... So we can almost get it down to... I want it to start exactly on 2 minutes. Which is right in the middle of the drop. I think I've just snapped myself a fully working MDS-E11. Now these aren't exactly cheap to get these days. They're not that common to find. So I saw this for a price on eBay. I was kind of prepared to pay. I sent the seller an offer and it expired. He never replied to it. And then I got another eBay notification saying, do you want it at this price? And I was like, okay. So I saved a little bit. And as you can see, it's working. Which is pretty damn cool. So yeah, it's not in the best condition. You can probably see the case is it's been scratched from other pieces of equipment being put on top, and then it's obviously been in storage and it's gone a bit rusty on the edge. But I might be able to clean some of that up. The front panel itself is actually not in bad condition. If that was rack mounted, it wouldn't look too bad. And that's probably where this machine will go. It will probably end up as part of a future studio setup of mine. Because I think it'd be kind of cool if I ever did like live streams or something to get all my background music from a mini disc. And that's totally possible with like an 80-minute disc. Obviously this can't do MDLP, so you can't do the long play, but... It seems to be playing this disc all the way through just fine. Right, well there's the last track on the disc. Seems to be playing just fine. I think to end the video, we need some better music. That's not a fault with the player, by the way, that's actually the disc. A lot of my mini discs are kind of worn and old. So yeah, I think we should have some slightly less upbeat music. Well, not necessarily downbeat music, but like more relaxing when in that time. So yeah, I'll definitely maybe get some little lubricant on the loading mechanism there if I can. YouTube audio library. Does it play? Isn't that relaxing? Nice bit of background music jazz. So, that was me looking at a mini disc machine. Uses these things. Thank God it wasn't the Shakira disc. We do not want Shakira on this channel. Be copyright claims. Here's the Shakira disc. Maybe I'll do a video where I actually find out if I can record something onto this disc. It's always useful to have another mini disc because they're not exactly expensive, but that's a couple quid right there. So free mini disc makes it worthwhile. So yeah, I think my next video I'm actually going to maybe have a look at that RS-232 port, maybe see if I can create some kind of control apparatus for it. I have real aspirations of maybe having a desk mounted controller where I can say I want to play track 1 and just click a button and it automatically does it for me. And the RS-232 protocol is actually available as a PDF, so I might make a library for C# or something as well. We'll see how far I get with this. But that's it from me. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. There's lots more weird geeky videos like this on this channel. They may or may not have smooth jazz in them. So yeah, I'm just gonna fade to black with the smooth jazz, I think.